Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of NoFap and Retention Advice with JGar. Today let's talk a little bit more about the media. Early in your NoFap transition, you will notice that Hollywood normalizes sexual content in movies and shows. In past videos, I have discussed that while there are many movies and shows that use graphic content to exploit and brainwash, there are movies and shows that portray this content responsibly. In the beginning of your transition, you want to avoid all of it. Eventually, you will decide on your own time what movies and shows use the content responsibly and when you will be comfortable watching it again. I have a few videos linked above that you can watch on being more comfortable with this content when it's right and how movies use the content more responsibly. You can check those out. There is one genre that uses graphic content in vastly different ways for vastly different reasons. Movies about war. Movies about war are meant to show you how lives are impacted when stationed in war. This can mean exposure to violence and sexual content. Movies like these portray sexual sin in many different ways as part of the history behind the war. And I must ask, were there movies about war that were teaching us as viewers to be better human beings ourselves? Here are a few examples. I could talk about Apocalypse Now. This is a story of philosophy and insanity set in the Vietnam War. It uses a part of history in which Playboy members were being sent to visit soldiers in Vietnam, and it builds off of that part of history to show us a scene in which soldiers are being entertained by a live Playboy entertainment show. This isn't exactly what happened in the history of the war as far as I've read, but it shows you how the US media was back then and how companies like Playboy were growing back then to the point that they were sending Playboy members to visit soldiers in Vietnam. When they were trying to be entertaining, they were really making things worse for the men and women involved. Band of Brothers is a mini-series set in World War II. It's very accurate, it's very serious, it's exceptionally well done. There's a lot to see in this 10-episode miniseries involving real-life soldiers in World War II. There is a scene in the first episode where the drill instructor pulls out a dirty magazine from a soldier's bag and angrily labels it as contraband. We as viewers might have not thought so much about this scene as the show progressed, but we needed to take moments like these more seriously. Dirty imagery like this should really be contraband wherever we are. It doesn't just apply to soldiers, it applies to everyone. But what about movies that depict the damage of sexual sin in relationships when one is serving in the military? Biloxi Blues from the 80s sort of showed this, as it was a movie about soldiers training for World War II. It is written by an actual journalist who was in training that time. There is a subplot involving the soldiers being angsty for sex, and the main soldier even has a relationship with someone during his time training, and his relationship with that woman is not healthy at all. And when the war ends, their relationship ends. Atonement is different in that the man doesn't enlist in the military out of his choice. He is forced into it as an alternative to prison. But was this movie teaching us about the dangers of sexual immorality, such as premarital sex? In this movie, the main man and woman engage in sexual activity. The woman's younger sister gets jealous, and all that follows is tragedy. It's a sad story, yet it's very serious and worth learning from. There is a lot to gain from the overall picture. Was Dear John teaching us about the dangers of sexual sin in long-distance relationships? In Dear John, there are scenes of sexuality done in a PG-13 way, and it leads to desperation between the couple, and a breakup out of that desperation rather than out of love. The ending is ambiguous. You could interpret that they're putting things back together again, and yes, in real life, relationship problems can be solved. The movie, within the context of its story, doesn't make that clear, and it doesn't need to. Still, I think Dear John was teaching us about love and loyalty versus sex and desperation. Jarhead is the big one, as it is all about that desperation. The desperation for combat, the desperation for sex. This movie is based on actual soldiers serving in the Persian Gulf War, told from the point of view of one soldier, and based on the actual soldier's book about his experience. The movie makes it very clear that the soldiers are sexually active with their girlfriends at home, without marrying. When stationed in the Persian Gulf War, they completely lack in their self-control. They talk all about losing their relationships. One of them has a rude awakening with a mailed-in video. The main soldier, Swafford, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, writes a lot about his lack of self-control and even has an explicit scene within the movie. The DVD even includes deleted scenes that make it even more clear. Within the context of the story, he learns gradually that his relationship isn't working out. Movies about war are mainly meant to show us how military and war combat psychologically desensitize soldiers, reminding us to thank our soldiers at every chance we get. There are subplots in these involving sexual sin and relationship damage that deserve more attention from us as viewers. Hacksaw Ridge shows us that it's possible to keep your loyalty in your relationships. We must take responsibility and be better people. If you're a man, to be a better gentleman, and know that this behavior of sexual sin is damaging in the long term. By seeing this behavior presented in these pictures with the negative consequences, we must understand how we can improve ourselves by not engaging in it ourselves. Learn to transmute your sexual energy into life energy and free yourself from sexual sin. I have other videos on this. Be sure to check them out. Keep praying, because when you want to be a better person, God helps you be a better person. I pray that it's not too late for us. I pray that God is helping us all the way through. Any other war movies you would like to bring up? Let me know in the comments section. Like and share if you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to me for more videos. Hit the bell if you want to be notified of uploads. I'm making more videos for you and bigger projects for you as we speak. Have a great week and a great life, and always love yourself for who you are. Godspeed.